Walking a path along the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road to the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Inside is a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, and whether a grown man can suddenly change his whole persona. At a corner table by the fire are three people. One of them is leaning back in his chair, wearing a leather jacket and dark glasses, smoking a cigarette and, I don't know, shuffling cards or something. Well, that's me, Matthew Mellema, and welcome to Believe to See, a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Here at Believe to See, we explore the relationship between faith, art, and storytelling. Our goal is to help you connect the great story, the great stories, and our own stories in order to understand what it means to live with a Christian imagination. All right, so let me take y'all back to about, a week ago. Me and my wife Danielle were watching this Parks and Rec episode where one of the characters is trying to get the book Twilight into the time capsule. If you know Parks and Rec, you know what I'm talking about. And during that time when we're watching, Danielle mentions in an offhand way that when she was in college, she read through all the Twilight books and really liked them. This had never come up before. I didn't know my wife used to be a Twilight fan, so I was a little taken aback. And as a joke, I asked her whether she was Team Edward or Team Jacob. But I said it as a joke because I already knew the answer. My wife was Team Edward. The reason I knew this is because if my wife was Team Jacob, she never would have married me. Yes, this may surprise you all, but I am not the bad boy. Not even a little bit. When I was young, I was the exact sort of young man who every grandmother wanted their granddaughter to date. I know this because lots of grandmas tried to set me up with their granddaughters. But seriously, what is up with all of these bad boys? Why have girls throughout the centuries gone absolutely gaga over them? Even today, why do YA books that are otherwise on the bleeding edge of social justice issues, on all those, issues on everything from race to gender to the patriarchy, they still have their heroines fall for bad boys? Seriously, why? To help me untangle this, I am joined by Evangeline Denmark and Mandy Hauk. Evangeline, how are you doing?
I am wondering who put you in charge of this podcast.
I think he did. Maybe he is a bad boy.
Aha.
Oh,
yeah, there
okay.
we go.
He's a secret bad boy.
So, Evangeline, Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Do I have to choose?
I mean, I guess choosing both is kind of its own choice.
Or neither. That is interesting that you thought it was one or the other or both. How about neither?
Oh.
I choose single. I don't
Bella
want a werewolf.
chooses Bella.
Bella chooses.
Wow,
Bella
that would have
chooses
been
Bella.
That would have been interesting.
She wears
that
a shirt that says Team Bella.
That would have been
That is
amazing.
the rewrite. That is the 2023 rewrite. Bella chooses Bella. Bella is Team Bella.
That is the one I would read because I did not read a word of any of the others.
I did read them, but I want the Bella chooses Bella rewrite. Stephanie Meyer, please make it happen.
Hello, Evangeline. I think you're a writer.
Yeah, but I can't. I don't want to write Twilight fiction.
You don't want
fiction.
to. You don't want to.
I don't want to. No, thank
Accepted.
you.
Well, but Evangeline, as Mandy did say, you are a writer, but specifically you are a published YA author. So I really yield to your opinion here on the appeal of the bad boy.
Okay.
Both in contemporary times, like within the past several years or so, but also throughout history because you also have a taste for the Gothic. And, there's some bad boys running around there too.
There
What?
are.
So,
Really?
There are.
So Evangeline, let's just give a brief history of your experience with the bad boys of literature.
Okay, let's do it. I fell in love with Heathcliff at age 10.
That explains so much,
It
honey.
does, doesn't it? It does.
It does.
Yeah, and I could say, I don't know if you would say it was downhill from there or uphill from there, because I certainly did not marry a bad boy.
He's kind of edgy.
Oh, Corey would be so happy that if he finds out you said that.
He is an artist.
Okay,
So
I'm comparing your husband to mine, and yes, yours would be the
is
bad
more
boy.
edgy. bad boy
In that
compared to. Well, okay, when we met, I was 18 and he was 24.
Oh, that's
So
enough to make you a little
enough
edgy. Yeah.
Of course, he was like almost done with his college career and totally done with any partying, and a very serious engineering student who I did my best to distract from his studies. But
Congratulations, that worked.
Yeah, he still managed to graduate despite
okay.
my best efforts. Not that anyway. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I could have, had I not met Corey, I probably would have, and I did date a couple of bad boys, but the college probably would have been the bad boy phase had I not met Corey.
And I want to come back to this phrase, bad boy phase, before too long, but I'm glad you brought it up now. All right, so thank you, Evangeline. And yes, we'll get to Heathcliff later, too. A lot of things that we're putting pins in for later.
Okay.
Mandy?
Yes.
What bad boys do you go for? Let's just get it all out on the table.
No, I said Heathcliff.
What did I say?
Forgive me. Rochester. I fell in love with Rochester
Oh,
at age 10.
Well, okay.
Heathcliff I did not love until college.
Oh,
Until
okay.
maybe my third
That was your
reading
more-
I
of
thought that was
Wuthering
odd because
Heights.
I was sitting here thinking, I thought she was
Why
Jane
does your
Eyre,
mom
though.
let you read Wuthering Heights?
Well,
No, send me to
but
Jane Eyre.
also, but you are Jane Eyre.
Yes.
You just are.
Yes, I've had a little bit of wine already, and
Yeah.
I got
Hey,
my.
we're at a pub.
I got my Byronic heroes mixed up. I do love
That's
them
okay.
both.
They're
but
both
Rochester,
Byronic and they're both bad, and you love them
Yeah,
both.
well,
so-
Rochester will
We'll
forever
get back
be my
to Lord
first love.
Byron later, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, are you asking real life or literary bad boys?
Whichever, you can take it any way you want. I guess literary right now.
See, I never really read that's not what I really read. I didn't read romance, whether it was classic or contemporary. So I'm the extra on this podcast, but I did date a lot of idiots. I will
Okay.
say that.
Wow, so you had the real life experience.
I had real life, yes. So my longest relationship outside of my husband, to whom I have been married now for 30 and a half years, my longest relationship outside of him was 3 months. That's how bad the bad boys were. They were bad.
Okay.
They were not good.
That's rough.
So, but
Wow.
I survived and I'm good. I'm
I
all
told
good.
you, luckily for me, Danielle didn't go for the bad boy. She was Team Edward.
Yeah.
But I'm the first non-musician she ever dated. So
So are you saying all musicians are bad boys? No.
I'm saying most male musicians suck. I don't know if they're bad boys or not. But
They're
it-
flighty. They're fours.
Yes.
They're Enneagram fours.
It's pretty hard to date.
he's a
them.
tortured artist. You don't understand.
I know. What did
Yeah.
I just say? I said Enneagram 4.
But
Yeah.
so let me take you all back to history. The oldest extant work of literature is the Epic of Gilgamesh. And within that work, we find some very interesting characters, Gilgamesh one of them, but I especially want to focus on the character of Enkidu. So
Let's do it.
The story goes that Gilgamesh is created by the gods, and he is sort of this perfect human specimen, and is so insatiable in his appetites, all appetites, that all the people of the kingdom are like, you need to friggin' cut this out. And even the gods are like, we need someone to take this dude down a peg. So they fashion this wild man, Enkidu. He's this wild, untamed character. And him and Gilgamesh fight in this epic battle that lasts days and days. But after that, they become bros, okay? And again, Enkidu, this untamed wild man, this just untamable bad boy, he's finally tamed by a woman. And
Yep.
I don't need to go into too much detail because it's a family show, but he is eventually tamed. He is he is literature's first bad boy.
Okay.
Then we can go, further. I think even the Bible can have some examples. This was not a healthy relationship, but Samson, absolutely a bad boy.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. In the medieval period, when a couple was getting married, a popular motif for their, wedding china or whatever was Samson and Delilah. It's like,
Really?
On wedding china?
yeah, it's like, guys, might want to reread that story.
Have
It's not a
you
healthy
read-
relationship.
have
but,
you read it at
But
all?
again,
Was it bald Samson or
I'm guessing it was long hair, hot Samson.
long hair Fabio?
Yeah.
Hot Samson.
But
Fabio Samson.
then, I'm looking at Lancelot and Guinevere. Lancelot,
Yeah.
he didn't start off as a bad boy, but he became it for Guinevere. Then let's look at I was thinking about this. Obviously, we can fast forward a lot to like Restoration era England. We have, the Gothic folks, but is Mr. Darcy a bad boy?
Ooh.
Oh, yes, he is. He is a stealth bad boy, don't you think, Evangeline? Because
no. I mean,
he's proper, but I think the lie is that if they're proper, they're not bad. But I think he's.
So the allure of Darcy early on is that he's this sort of
Elusive,
he's haughty,
dark.
he's aloof,
Yes.
he's elitist.
Yes.
And that I think that there's some allure to Elizabeth subconsciously, even though consciously she's like, oh, this dude sucks.
Yeah.
And later on, it's revealed that he is not those things.
Correct.
Right.
But there's still that perception. I think that perception is a large part of his appeal.
Yeah, she's not attracted to him because he's kind. She doesn't see that. What she sees is the aloof bad boy.
Okay.
So I guess the interesting distinction here is in other bad boy, the girl redeems him sort of narratives. The guy really is bad and he really becomes good. But in that case, with Darcy and Elizabeth, it's just that he had like an outer kind of, his walls were up. And so he wasn't truly bad. He is revealed to be something different than he was. But she's still attracted or at least confounded and drawn toward the bad.
Yeah, he definitely has an effect.
Well,
correct.
On her. But I think, that is a huge part. The persona or the image versus the truth is a huge part of the bad boy story and appeal. And it's not that it's always there.
Yeah.
But I think that's a
good
major motivating factor in the appeal.
No, that is a very good point, and that is definitely a theme we'll be coming back to in a bit too. So let's sort of continue our little meander through literary history according to Bad Boys. So we have this. Then along that same time period, it was a very common trope, especially in some more like the less highbrow sort of pulpier stuff of like the sexy highwayman, right? Like there's a famous poem about the highwayman. And so like this is very much a thing. Like young girls would be made fun of for like desiring this archetype. And this continues on, and now let's go all the way to modern day. All right, I'm looking like even with very popular things like we've all seen a million times. Beauty and the Beast. The Beast is definitely a bad boy type, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, he's a literal monster. He's a modern day Enkidu. Then we'll have things like, I don't want to start anything right now.
Yes,
but
you do.
Me and Mandy were maybe in an argument off mic about the Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
So going into the late 90s, early aughts, there were several. You can say that Rory dumped one bad boy for a badder boy in Dean for Jesse.
And then a badder boy.
Yeah, well, we can get into that. But then let's go. Here's what I find really fascinating here that I just can't put together. For a while back, I was going through reading a bunch of YA like thrillers. Again, reasons aren't important, but these thrillers, like I'm especially looking at the Truly Devious series, which is a series of like mystery books, and this other thriller called If You're Out There. Both of them are scrupulous in trying to be just totally in line with like the progressive like social justice left, right? So it has all, checks all the boxes you want, has all the characters you'd expect, it has all the messages you'd expect. It's scrupulous in doing all this. Yet, in both of those instances, the heroine ends up going for the friggin' bad boy. Like you can see these authors, you can tell self-consciously like, I want it to reflect this particular strain of politics, take that patriarchy, also, sweep me off my feet, highwayman. And I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Partly it's because I always knew this because I wasn't the bad boy. At least half the girls were just totally out of bounds, right? Like my test back in the day was...
I bet you got a lot of, you're like my brother.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
The big test back in the day was Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You find out, was the girl an Orlando Bloom girl or a Johnny Depp girl? If they're a Johnny Depp girl, it's like, okay, well, there's no point in even trying anything.
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom, okay, we can talk.
Yes.
But Johnny Depp, no. So, yeah, this has been a thing for me for a while, and I don't know. Like, the bad girl in literature isn't a trope. That's not a thing.
Sure it is.
Well, no, but
Well, but it's not the
like,
one that gets chosen.
no, it's not like the one where like, ooh, she's smoking a cigarette and gambling, riding her motorcycle. Like, no,
She's the
no,
manic
no.
pixie dream girl.
That is
the bad
different,
girl.
though. Like, it
Well, it's
fulfills
different,
similar
but it's-
roles, but there's
yeah.
nothing like transgressive about the manic pixie dream girl.
I think there is, because I think it's implied that you don't take the manic pixie dream girl home to meet mom and dad. Like, mom and dad are not going to be happy if you come through the door with manic pixie dream girl who is, multiple piercings and, wearing a ripped t-shirt and whatever it is, and, riding the motorcycle maybe. And are they going to say, we want her to be the mom of our grandchildren? No, probably not. So I think she is the version of the
But
one.
maybe
of the
this
bad girl.
goes back to, the patriarchy thing, because there's more
Yeah.
danger inherent in the guy being problematic, because we still have this concept of the guy being the the central and the provider, and that he needs to be the steady one. Do you know what I mean? So the flaws in the man are more problematic to mom and dad than flaws in the girl.
I mean, which would explain the prevalence of it,
Yeah.
throughout literature. It's, because we're kind of coming from that angle
Right.
for the longest time. So, yeah.
No, I do concede your point there that the manic pixie dream girl fills some of the same like character beats as the bad boy. But I do think it is distinguishable, because you'll never be like, ooh, this girl plays by her own rules, as like a point of like, ooh, that's part of the allure. Like that is just
Right.
I totally disagree.
You disagree? No.
Of course, manic pixie dream girl plays by her own rules, and that is part of the allure.
Yes, but in a different way. But that's more like a whimsical, fun way, not like a.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
She's dangerous.
Okay, what manic pixies are you thinking of right now?
I don't know. I can't I can't think of an example. But
Well, I
it's
mean,
like-
I think of like what were there was a pair of John Hughes films, Pretty in Pink, and the studio made him end it where the girl chose the bad guy, Andrew McCarthy,
Okay.
and he was really mad that they made him do that. So then he made Some Kind of Wonderful,
Okay.
which notably was not even close to the box office success as Pretty in Pink. And he it was basically the exact same story, but the wrong choice in that scenario was the bad girl. But the guy chooses her at the end.
Okay, we seem to be a little crosswise on the manic pixie dream girl concept. So, Evangeline, maybe we should take a half step back. What do you think are some good examples of manic pixie dream girls?
Okay, so there's a series out right now on Amazon Prime. It's called Daisy Jones and the Six. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen that. So Daisy Jones, which is funny because Daisy is like a classic manic pixie dream girl name. But the character of Daisy in this show is classic example of manic pixie dream girl. She is beautiful, alluring, mysterious. She brings out in the main character, she is a main character, but in the protagonist, the male protagonist, opposite her, more depth, more understanding, more growth in his art, which is a classic manic pixie dream girl trait. And, we could argue that, she is a, sexist example of wish fulfillment for, male writers, whatever. But you know,
That's a whole other podcast.
she does drugs. She is clearly bad news, and you know, has her own, you know, demons, which are not, you know, her fault. She has damage, whatever. But, you know, regardless of her own character arc, he's married, so there's that problem anyway. But, you know,
he's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy. But yeah, were he not married, do you think he would bring her home to his parents and they would be like, yeah, this is the one for you? It's kind of the same.
Okay.
Two sides of the same coin.
Okay, I think you are convincing me. And part of that is I was thinking, I have a couple other examples here. One of them is Daisy from Great Gatsby.
Yep.
Daisy.
She's another. She is alluring. She is absolutely bad news.
That is true.
That is bad news, sort of like below the surface, where you know they're bad news, but you can't stop yourself. Another one, more contemporary one, Rachel from Friends.
That's true.
Ooh, interesting.
She is a bad girl.
That's
and thank
interesting.
you for recognizing that.
Interesting take.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I'll point to you on that one.
Okay.
So let's. All right. Let's talk about the appeal then. What is it about the bad boy that, in your opinion, keeps generations of readers coming back to them, Evangeline?
Well, mystery is part of it. I mean, we all want to solve the mystery, solve the puzzle. You know, we're attracted and interested in the mysterious, the new, the novel. So I think that is part of it. A good boy is a known entity. A bad boy is anyone's guess. There's something to get to the bottom of. So
It's like the mist on the moors.
Oh my.
So that is that's my first pass. That's my surface example that I think is kind of covers like the whole attraction, like, you know, like the initial attraction. It's a blanket.
The mystery.
A blanket
anything
term.
could be beneath the surface.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And so just like we're attracted to mystery stories, we're attracted to mystery characters.
And so the girl and by proxy the reader is drawn into sorting out what it is that makes this guy the way he is.
Right.
And
Right.
maybe he just needs love.
Well, and you know, we're going to get there.
Okay,
We're going
sorry.
to get to the love. But, you
Sorry.
know, you just think about it. I mean, like the trope is the new guy walks into school. You've never seen him before. He dresses differently. You don't know who he is. He has a sort of brooding mannerism about him. Is he more interesting than, you know, Joe Smith, who you have known since kindergarten, who is a stand-up decent guy? Good for Joe. But you've known him. You guys played in the, you know, little wading pool together. Is the new guy more interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? You're reminding me of Happy Days, which who knows if either of you, have you ever watched Happy Days?
Is that with the Fonz?
Yes.
Okay.
Good job. Yeah. So the Fonz was totally the bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Richie Cunningham was Ron Howard and like totally not the Fonz. And so that was like a very clearly drawn good boy, bad boy thing. And the Fonz had all the girls. Mm-hmm. So
let's break that down point by point then. So you mentioned brooding. What is it about brooding that draws the ladies?
I think because to me, it seems like she thinks he just needs someone to hear him and someone to be there. And maybe I can be that.
Well, and the implication of depth.
Yes.
The implication
James Dean, baby. Yes. Rebel without a cause.
like of self-realization, perhaps, of examination, which kind of comes along with the artist personality type. And I'm seeing a lot of things right now. I'm hearing a lot of things about women wanting men to kind of be more engaged in emotion, obviously, but also in like the dynamics of life and household and all of that. And
I'm sorry, James Dean does not fold laundry.
no, you're right. You're right.
Well, I know we didn't say he
But
was a good.
but I'm getting there.
Okay. Sorry.
And like what we're looking for and what I think right now a lot of women are talking about is wanting a man who has done the self-reflection and evolved into a being that is not just sitting there playing video games. And I think that the bad boy persona
Keep going.
implies that there has been some self-examination, that there is something going on beneath the surface. And
He's the diamond in the rough. You just have to cut away the rough.
yeah.
This is good. So why is a diamond in the rough more appealing than just a diamond?
Cubic zirconia?
No, than a diamond.
Because
Like, here's a diamond, here's a hunk of coal, maybe there's a diamond in there.
Because there isn't just a diamond, a naturally
It's the mystery
occurring.
box.
There isn't a naturally occurring diamond. So
Diamonds are always in the rough.
yeah. So there
first.
has to be the process of, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're like purifying, where you're
The
bringing
excavation.
out the excavate. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there
good.
has to. Diamonds don't just
So-
like pop up.
Yeah, so the like boy next door isn't
I
a
think
diamond yet because he has to go through some stuff in order to have depth and value. Not I mean he has value, but in order to have that depth to him.
Depth and passion and
Growth.
intrigue. And yes, but
And
I would say,
evolution.
okay, but I would also, just a little spin right here.
Okay.
Who among us, ladies and men, have not been fooled by what appeared to be the diamond and then ended up being like they were actually, their persona was a lie. And there was actually something not good back there. Because sometimes the boy next door,
Right.
I mean, Ted Bundy to go extreme.
Ted Bundy had a neighbor, so to that neighbor, Ted Bundy was literally the boy next door.
Well, Ted Bundy, it's true. We've all been the boy next door.
And
but
who hasn't dated the boy who your parents think is wonderful and who treats you like crap?
the Eddie Haskell problem.
Right. So they look
Yes.
good on the surface. So I think
Right.
that's the dynamic. Now, of course, there is the boy next door trope where he does turn out to be the one that you want, like Bridget Jones's Diary, which is just Pride and Prejudice,
Yes.
brought into
Robbery.
this. Yeah.
But-
But anyway, the whole thing is they played in the, paddling pool as kids, and then he
Right.
ends up being the one.
Right.
So there is that
Spoiler!
trope. But, oh no, people
I'm
don't
just
know.
kidding.
They did. Elizabeth
kidding.
ends up with Mr. Darcy.
They're too late.
Yeah.
They should have watched it already.
Sorry.
But no, I think the mystery is one thing because there's a fascination element. It's hard to be fascinated with a person where you feel like you can see exactly who they are on
Right.
the surface. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. We're just talking about the trope.
Right.
It's hard to make a cool story out of, hey, this guy is good and it's all authentic.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get any, because the point of literature is the arc to some degree. So there has to be change. So if you start off with the guy who's already the good guy and really is the good guy, there's nowhere for the story to go. So you either have to have the good guy that is really the bad guy, or you have the bad guy that has really fascinating potential to actually be good under there somewhere, diamond in the rough.
There has to be conflict somewhere.
Correct.
Or there's no story.
Right. You're thinking.
Yes.
You
I'm
are
thinking.
scratching your beard.
I'm thinking. I'm
Yes.
thinking. Okay, so let's keep breaking this down.
Okay.
I get the story arc for stories, right? And I get how, especially if your protagonist is in the story. Obviously, they need to do a story arc. I've never attempted to write a love story. I don't really want to, but it's not my impression that necessarily both of them need to undergo a full character arc change, though, right?
Not both. No.
Or that one needs to go from being a bad person to a good person in order to get the...
No, but secrets have to be revealed. I mean, you can't, if you know everything from the get-go, then where is the story going?
Okay. Now, I did grant you your point earlier, Evangeline, about how there are some similarities with the bad boy and manic pixie dream girl. I think, in effect, they can have that where you can feel this attraction to a person who you know is a bad person. I get that. But
maybe not.
I think that
the way that person.
I don't. No. I would correct what you're saying. Sorry.
Okay, tell me why the bad boy isn't. Oh, isn't?
No, the attraction.
Dad, you just don't understand him.
Exactly.
Matt, he's an artist.
Matt.
No, it's not like.
I knew you'd never understand, Dad.
Hey, is this a monologue or a round table?
It's me preparing to
pub.
It's me preparing to tell my daughter that she can't go on a date with that guy in 10 years.
Well, anyway, never mind. No, I don't. When I dated idiots, I didn't go, hey, he's an idiot, I want to date him. He's a bad guy, I want to date him because he's bad. I thought I could see something in him that other people could not. Mm-hmm. I did not, he's shaking his head. I know. Did I marry one of them? No. So I'm trying to explain to you that the girl who is attracted to what you would call the bad boy isn't attracted to him because she thinks he truly is bad. She thinks that he is behaving in the way he's behaving for reasons that maybe she can address, and maybe she can see him in ways that other people can't, and maybe she can heal him and change him and all the things that probably she can't. Mm-hmm. But that's the attraction. Mm-hmm. Is that clear?
I understand what you are saying. Does it make sense to me? No.
Well,
but I understand what you are saying. And again, I just think we're using sweeping generalizations here. Everybody's different.
That's fun.
But I feel like understanding what guys are looking for is just so much simpler, right?
Yeah. Oh, you only think that because you are the guy and you know how your brain works.
Yeah. But girls, so guys like, oh yeah, she's really pretty. For girls, like, I heard a comedian say this once, like, so ask like a woman what they're looking for is like, I want a man with a secret. It's like, what? I don't understand. Okay. So let's break this down point by point. Another one that comes up: playing by his own rules.
Yeah.
Doesn't care what the man has to say. Why is this appealing?
I think some of that is because you want something different than your father.
Or you just want something different than the system.
Yeah.
Than you're in. And, especially in high school, it's everybody wants to be different, but different in the same way. Everybody wants to belong, but also not care what other people think. Mm-hmm. It's a very confusing time of life. Mm-hmm. So to have someone come in who genuinely does not care what other people think, genuinely, is exciting.
Well, jinx. Yes.
Jinx.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. Yeah.
Okay. No, I can see where not caring what the man tells you does sort of, it suggests confidence, which if I understand women correctly, they find it good to have confidence.
And
okay,
also,
yes. Okay.
I would say it also implies a bit of intelligence.
Yes.
Because if he's able to think differently than what he's told to think, that's intelligence and that's interesting.
And does he have something else going on besides the shallow sort of interests that your, peers have? Well, of course that's interesting and compelling.
Of course it is.
Okay, so now I think we're talked a lot in generalities here. Let's get into the brass tacks. Mandy, who are your favorite? Who you think are the best bad boys in like literature, film, television, whatever?
Are you just trying to bait me so we can start arguing?
No, if you want to, that's fine.
Well, that's at forefront of my mind because of what we talked about in the green room. But
well, let's
I mean,
do it then.
I don't read a lot of romance, whether it's classic romance or contemporary romance, so I don't have a whole lot to go on. But my comfort show that I always watch, and I watch with my girls, and I've watched it I don't know how many times, is Gilmore Girls. It is a literary masterpiece. Joking. Anyway, whatever. I love Gilmore Girls. And I am 100% Team Jess. But when I say I am Team Jess, I am not talking about Jess at the beginning. Stop. He's like twitching to try to interrupt me.
I'm just thinking,
Yes.
Jess in the opening episode, I just want to
Kill him.
beat him up.
Oh, me too.
Like bludgeon him with something.
Okay, but are we...
Does that make me a bad boy?
Yes, because you are defining people. You are defining a person on one interaction with them, and that's not fair.
Okay, well, continue.
I don't think it makes you the bad boy. I think it makes you the man.
Oh, which is worse. Way worse.
Meanwhile, Jess, he has his biker jacket and his little toothpick in his mouth. He has a pack of cards.
Had a toothpick
He's going
in his
down to the
mouth.
saloon on his
There were
motorcycle.
no saloons.
Because he's a bad boy from the 50s.
He did not.
Hey,
no.
baby.
The reason that I like Jess is because I feel like I could go on too long and it would not work. You need to ask me specific questions because what would you like to know?
So it seems very much like in Gilmore Girls, Dean, when he was introduced, he was kind of a bad boy himself, right? But he had reformed enough where by the time Jess comes along, he's no longer the bad boy. So Rory kind of trades Dean in for the newer, badder model.
I don't really think Dean was the bad boy at first. He was just, he wasn't the prep school boy. But the way that
From the other side of the tracks.
Yes, but he was from the same side of the tracks as Rory and her mother. And so I think Rory's, apologies to every podcast listener who has never watched Gilmore Girls. Go watch it.
Anyway, we're talking about high schoolers here, right?
It's basically high school.
It's not rocket science to follow what's going on, right?
Dean was only viewed as the bad boy by the prep school people that Rory didn't fit in with. So I disagree with you that he works as the bad boy because he was not the bad boy to Rory. He was the right boy to Rory. He was what Rory should be with. The boy from their small town who was not snotty like prep school like Lorelai's parents. So Lorelai liked him because he didn't represent everything she tried to get away from. So no, I don't agree that Dean was a bad boy. Dean was good boy. Dean was quote unquote good boy who ended up being extremely controlling and ridiculous and literally broke up with Rory because when he said, "I love you," she couldn't say it back yet and he got mad at her. Hello, that's not good boy behavior. So that is Dean is the quintessential outward good boy who's actually a bad boy because he was controlling.
That is a giant matzo ball hanging out there. But sorry.
Because he was controlling. He seemed good because he checked all the boxes, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
but he couldn't accept her.
I do not come here to praise Dean. I come to bury Jess. So let's talk about Jessie.
So let's go to Jess. I'm ready.
So my view is, again, Jessie sucks. Do you?
Jess, not Jessie.
I don't care. He sucks. So, how would you have felt if someone close to you, like let's say you have a young friend at church who is Rory's age, starts dating a Jess?
A daughter, since I have two.
We can do that.
We can do that.
Let's go back to when your daughters were in high school. They start dating a Jess. Mm-hmm. How would you feel about that?
Well, the show showed you how Lorelai felt about that because she saw Jess exactly like you would expect her to, and she did not like him. And she was right for who Jess was at that time.
Okay, so you are saying that early Jess deserves all the bad stuff, but his character arc, he changes.
Yes.
Okay.
Because people change. And the early, you have to remember, again, apologies to anyone who's listening who has not watched Gilmore Girls, but the only way to explain Jess is to get into specifics.
Again, picture a bad boy from the 50s.
Yes, but when he comes...
He has a candy cigarette that he's chomping on. He has his root beer.
Okay, Jess did not smoke.
He's gonna sass the what's his name that he's staying with.
I think Matt is out of control. Sorry.
This is a mischaracterization. You know what? I feel like this is...
You don't understand me. No one does. I'm gonna go write poetry.
You know what?
On the bridge.
You know
Matt,
what I'm
did
going
a
to say?
bad boy hurt you?
You know what I have to say? This is me thinking Matt knows he has no argument because he's making stuff up. Because none of this actually happened.
He's vamping.
Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe I'm projecting.
Yes.
Wow.
Jess doesn't smoke. He did write poetry on the bridge. How is that bad? This is Anselm's Society.
Okay.
What is bad about writing poetry on the bridge, Matt?
Shows he has depth.
How is that bad?
Writing poetry on the bridge.
I'm sorry.
I'm like half in love with you already if you're writing poetry on the bridge.
This might be reflecting some of high school Matt's old feelings.
I feel like your recollection is colored by things because seriously, I don't remember Jess smoking ever. I don't think he had a leather jacket. I think he had a denim jacket, but really, so do I. I have 3. Am I a bad boy?
He read books.
He read so many books, and that was the point because the whole time that Rory was with Dean, he never, he was like, oh, that's so cool you like books, but he couldn't meet her in that. He didn't really they weren't the same. Jess and Rory both were passionate about books and intellect and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the whole reason that Jess comes to Stars Hollow in the first place is because he was kicked out by his whole family. So I don't know. I'd be pretty ticked off if I were kicked out by my whole family.
Well, I think his family kicked him out. Okay.
No, because we meet his family later and we realize, I don't think you've watched this whole show, Matthew. That's what I have not. Oh my gosh. So later on, there are 2 pivotal scenes in the arc of Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
Where Rory has rebelled and even Lorelai, her mother, apologies podcast people, even her mother, who is her best friend, can't get through to her. And Jess comes in and he's like, Rory, what are you doing? This isn't you. And they're not together anymore. This is when they're in college. And he's the one that snaps her back into remembering who she really is. So if you haven't watched the whole thing and all you know is high school Jess, then of course you are not Team Jess.
Okay. Fair point.
The character art, we're talking about literature. You can't read the first half of the book and make up your mind about whether the character is good or not, Matthew. Oh, I win.
Okay, yes. Fine.
And the arc and the discovery and the secret, yes. I think, is why Bad Boys
Jess
are popular.
ends up becoming a published novelist. You didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that.
All right, then.
Oh, dear.
Cheers.
She pours
I am
wine
pouring myself more wine because I won.
You won.
All you know is the Jess that Luke pushes off the bridge into the water, which is one of the best moments in all of Gilmore Girls. Have you even seen that, when Luke pushes him into the water?
Probably. That was in the first episode.
It's
or
a
second
GIF.
Or whatever.
It's a GIF, man. I'll find it for you. Anyway, we have digressed beyond all.
Perhaps a little. Okay, so let's. But
I do think. Let me redeem this. I do think this comes to the heart of the bad boy.
It does,
because whether the girl / reader by proxy is correct or not, Jess is the perfect example of what she expects, and it's why she moves toward the bad boy. Because she thinks the badness is an illusion, or a cover or a wound that if only it were healed.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think the fact that there are stories and instances where that is the truth is why the trope continues.
Where the real person underneath is not what they appear.
Yes. And unfortunately, we know, in the real world that usually the bad boy is just bad, which is why we have this whole, moment in time where we're talking about, no women should not be rehabilitating men.
No.
That's not our job.
It doesn't work. Mandy's reality.
You're right. And then backlash against these kinds of stories because they are, reinforcing that desire that maybe we already have.
That we want to fix.
That we want to fix, or that, this is the truth. But the fact that there are a few stories where that is the case kind of perpetuates our desire for that to continue to read that story because we want that to be true.
We keep searching for the pearl in the slimy oyster.
Right. Right. And I think that gets to like what I think is the heart of the attraction of the bad boy, which is empathy. Like, I think women and readers.
Yes.
We've talked about how reading cultivates empathy. Mm-hmm. I think that women especially are wired for empathy. Mm-hmm. And, that gets us in trouble because we do automatically want to look for the good, the wound.
And it makes us vulnerable.
It does.
Vulnerability is such it's a two-edged sword.
It is.
Because
it's a strength,
beautiful
but
thing.
Also if the partner is not entering into vulnerability too,
right?
Then you have one person vulnerable and trying to do the work and running up against a wall all the time. But I mentioned Heathcliff earlier. I did not love Heathcliff until an adult reading of Wuthering Heights. Mm-hmm. Where I was absolutely struck by his, initial story of an orphan, mm-hmm. On the streets of Liverpool, probably brought over, possibly as, in human trafficking, but, whatever his circumstances for being brought over, they were not ideal. He was not treated as an equal. Mm-hmm. in society, and this like starving orphan, practically wild on the streets of Liverpool that Kathy's father brings home, and I was just struck by the sadness of that, and that's when and Heathcliff is a terrible person. He does terrible things, but my empathy had been stirred. And I, forever will see him as that orphan. And that is why I ended up loving Wuthering Heights, whereas I didn't the first couple times I read it.
Okay. And that brings, forget if we've talked about this on the podcast yet or not, that brings me to the quintessential example that makes you just realize I will never understand this. And that is that Pete Davidson is able to date our planet's most beautiful women.
I do not understand.
It's the exact same principles because he had a very tough childhood. Mm-hmm. He's a broken person.
Yes.
He's the sort of person you think you can fix. And I look at him. It's like some people it makes sense in my head, right? Yeah. Like Colin Jost on SNL. He is married to Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
That makes sense. It's like, okay, he's super funny, he's charming, he's a handsome dude. I get it. Then I look at Pete Davidson.
Yeah, how does he end up with
I don't understand. I think it's for the Heathcliff reasons, right? Mm-hmm. It's because you look at it, it's like, ooh, empathy.
He's so broken. And I have the Pete Davidson, I have like a soft spot for him as far as but not like that.
J'accuse.
I don't think J'accuse. I look at him, I'm old. I look at him from a mother perspective and I'm like, honey, honey, you need some help, sweetheart. Mm-hmm. But he does not need hot rich women dating him. They're not, that is not going to be the fix
Not the
for Pete
solution.
Davidson.
Yeah.
He needs help. And I mean, Imago Dei, it's in there. Imago, whatever.
Imago. Yeah, we always have trouble with that.
I know.
Phrase.
Sorry.
And-
I mean, he is a, child of God, whether he knows it or not. And he is, fixable is the wrong word, but romance typically is not like the prescription for healing all your wounds.
Well, that's the thing is where the heroine or the woman is trying to do the healing.
It's
which is not ever going to
because
be,
then it ends up wounding her.
Yeah, that's not the
It's never gonna be
solution.
right.
And I think we have the Byronic hero sort of arc, which is like Rochester with this past that he is trying to get redemption, atone for. And so he's on that path already. I don't know. We could probably argue both ways whether or not Jane is the one who redeems him or his actions and his path, because she does leave. And he continues along the path of trying to atone for trying to care for his wife, and eventually does, become maimed. Sorry, spoiler alert. Become maimed in his attempt.
I'm pretty sure the Anselm, the listeners.
If you haven't read Jane Eyre, what do I tell you? But he becomes maimed in his attempt to save Bertha, which you could say is his redemption.
Yes.
Right? So he is on that path anyway.
I 100% agree. When people diss Rochester, I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me?
And it's a popular thing. It's a very popular thing to do now.
I know he kept his wife in the attic, but I don't think you know the whole story.
Yeah, and maybe you're not considering how people were treated.
Yes.
Who were not cared for in the home.
Correct.
He cared for her when he could have sent her away. And he even mentions in the book, I could have sent her to another property of his.
Right.
Where kind of has an unhealthy atmosphere, and he's like, she would have caught something and died.
He's not
and
really
he didn't
bad.
do that.
I did not say a word against Rochester.
Okay.
I said words against lots of other dudes, but not him.
Yeah, but I'm
stories
talking
you don't
about
know.
like the journey, and I feel like if there is a journey and there is work going on, on the part of the bad boy in quotation marks. Then that can definitely be portrayed in a healthy way. And my example of this is Kaz in Six of Crows. Mm-hmm. I adore that book. Love the series, it's not a series, it's a duology. But Kaz is definitely a bad boy. He does things that are against the law. But he has a great arc. He has a horrific wound. That Leigh Bardugo just, does masterfully in, revealing that wound as both the stories go on. And what I love is there's this moment in Crooked Kingdom where Inej, who is Kaz's, love interest, tells him, I will have you without armor or not at all. And so she tells him, you will do the work to get to where you need to be in a relationship with me, or we will not have it. Which I think is such a healthy way to portray the bad boy. I mean, she does it fantastically. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's where we're at now. Like that's the standard. Can we include the bad boy, but have him do the work and portray that relationship as healthier.
So let him do the changing instead of the woman.
Right. And it's not that Inej is not, she's there for him. She's has his back. They talk and they have a equal partnership, friendship, healthy things. They are obviously in love with each other, but he's got this wound that prevents him from, really fully entering into relationship.
So it seems like what they used to do is the woman would just basically erase herself in order to, in service of healing the
like
bad
in
boy.
Greece.
Oh, Grease.
Ah, good. Yeah,
That is a
good example.
Horrible. Horrible. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you make sure you can be together? Just, dress in tight leather. Don't be the good girl anymore. Change
Right.
yourself entirely because
Right.
clearly he's great.
Right, so
yeah,
it's either
that's terrible.
It's either the heroine
example,
changing herself, becoming
Yes.
a bad girl, or her love heals him, which is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And that leads into the final point I wanted to talk about, and you both have touched on this already. That is, let's look at it from the perspective of storytellers. Let's say someone's out there, they're thinking about putting in a bad boy. Is this a good thing to put in books or literature? Is this just asking for trouble? I don't want to sound all Victorian moralizing stuff
Right.
oh, they will run away with the highwayman if they... But it seems like there's obviously this perpetual desire in the public to have these characters, right? Mm-hmm. Is it kind of innocent fun to be oh, here's a bad boy, and in this fictional story, the woman can turn him around and he whatever? Or do you think it's potentially setting a bad precedent? Because like you said, Evangeline, in the real world, most outwardly bad guys are just bad guys. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to go into actual relationships with that sort of template you develop in stories. Is that just moral panic right there, or do you think that's a real concern?
Well, I think it's valid because we're here for a reason. Women have had this temptation to rehabilitate the bad boy because we've been shown over and over again in stories that it works, quotation marks, and then we have one or two examples perhaps in real life where he turned around, he got off drugs,
Yep.
he whatever it was, because he really loved her, so there's one or two examples of that. So yeah, it's a valid concern, and then also there's the whole right now this moment of recognizing that men have behaved a little bit poorly, a lot poorly, and they need to be held to to higher standards. So I think, like I just said a few minutes ago, Leigh Bardugo is the standard. So our obligation, I think, is if you're going to include a bad boy, well, do it because conflict. You want conflict in your story. But I think showing him doing the work in the arc mm-hmm. is the solution, and the responsibility of the creator.
Yeah, I would say just in general, your characters have to be broken in some way.
Yeah, we all are.
Because first of all, it's not realistic. Second of all, there's no story if your characters aren't broken. Mm-hmm. So the characters have to be broken in some way. And so whether it's a bad boy or a bad girl or whatever, yes, we absolutely have to have them in stories. What needs to be different, and apparently from what Evangeline has said, maybe there is a trend for it to be different. What needs to be different is the bad boy can't get away with it to the detriment of, he can't mm-hmm. be healed because of all the bleeding and scars and sacrifice of everyone around him, particularly the woman. Because I feel like that's what's happened in the past, is the bad boy just gets to keep on going, and the only thing that redeems his arc is that the woman has basically bled and
mm-hmm. Or just given everything up,
or
Sandy
given everything up
Grace.
and
yeah.
erased herself, right? Yeah. I read something I think it was on Twitter, but it was something about when someone is erased, that is abuse. So I feel like in some ways, literature, high or low literature in the past, probably more low. The bad boy, the romance has succeeded because the woman has been erased. Do you think that's fair? Whereas what we need to do differently is not eradicate the bad boy, because he's not a trope. He's reality. Mm-hmm. He is reality. Bad girl is reality. Bad boy is reality.
Yeah.
It's what is done to resolve it and to redeem it.
Yeah.
That needs to change.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that about does. I think we're actually quite over time now.
Oh.
It's just when
We were having fun.
When me and Mandy just start debating Gilmore Girls.
I know.
It's
I really do
inevitable.
apologize to anyone who hasn't watched Gilmore Girls, but
Or read Jane Eyre.
well, I think our audience is more likely to have read Jane Eyre than watched Gilmore Girls.
Fair point.
Stab in the dark.
Or
there.
read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom if you haven't.
I
read
know.
them.
I need to read those.
Before we go, I just need to do a special shout out to James Marsden, because he has been not one but two of the nice guys who gets abandoned for the bad boy. I'm talking, of course, about Cyclops in the X-Men trilogy, loses out to Wolverine. And
I haven't seen any of those, but I adore James
and
Marsden.
as the nice lawyer who loses out to Ryan friggin' Gosling in The Notebook. I know it's shocking.
Ew!
I know
Not a
it's-
fan of The Notebook.
I know it's shocking that I sided with the good guy lawyer, but James Marsden, you are seen.
I love
Okay.
James Marsden.
And as you can all tell, things are winding down at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Fire's down to embers, the customers are trundling home, and you have polished off your final glass. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. If you have maybe like 45 seconds to spare, why not rate and review the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you again for listening, and we will catch you next time.